Welcome to What the Mom podcast. You are listening to Doulas Petra
and Jacqueline.
Motherhood can be isolating and hard.
We are two doulas that want to provide a place that's safe to talk about all things mom.
From pregnancy to birth to postpartum to parenting.
Join us as we have real conversations about real life.
Hello, everyone.
You're listening to What the Mom podcast with Doulas and Jacqueline.
Thanks for joining us today. Today we're going to be doing part 4 of our What to Expect series. This is the postpartum period. A lot of people don't think of this as a trimester, but technically it is.
Definitely. It might be the hardest one. So, yeah, thanks for joining us. We're just going to get right into it. So going back, looking at my postpartums, I've had 3. I think the biggest thing for me was to give myself grace. In this part of your life, it's kind of stressful. You can have really good babies, or sometimes you can have really not good babies and they could have like colic or something. And the most important thing is that to know is that you'll get through it. It might not be the easiest, but there's lots and lots of resources to help you get through it. Your job is to take care of the baby and yourself. And keeping a little human alive can be a big job. So I wrote a couple notes here just for postpartum items for moms. I think one of the biggest ones, they'll give you mesh underwear if you go to the hospital. I did end up going with my last, and they give you those. They become your best friend.
You can buy them online.
You can buy them online. I know, I saw that. I'm like, who would want to buy these? Just kidding.
They're so
well.
cool.
If you have a home birth and you're not at the hospital, you don't get any, right? So you ruin your own underwear, which kind of sucks. That's a good idea. Probably on Amazon, I'm guessing.
And they're disposable. That's what's nice about them. So you don't have to worry about stains or anything.
There you go. And there is going to be blood because typically a mom will bleed up to 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks. So definitely get yourself some of those. And then we talked about this in another episode. I think a big one was getting large pads to go into there because then they go further, the diapers, and they're quite pricey if you just buy them from the grocery store. So I would say definitely do that. I know Petra has made padsicles before. I have not, but I have heard glorious things about them. And it's normal. You just push the baby out of your vagina. It's gonna be a little sore. Like, I remember thinking back when I was gonna have my first, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have no drugs. This is gonna hurt. How much is it gonna hurt? And I mean, it was pretty painful, especially it being my first and having nothing to compare it to. But I think it all depends on like what you have for aftercare. I didn't really know much about it. It was my first. I didn't really have knowledge. I didn't know about witch hazel. I didn't know about all those different things that moms now know of for healing. And no one ever told me about padsicles. So I would say, there's lots of information out there. You can Google it. You can go on Pinterest. There's lots of different resources out there. Moms who have had C-sections, it's going to be a little bit different for you. You're going to want to be cleaning your incision, and also you will bleed after your baby. Sometimes it's not as much. I had a sister-in-law who said that it wasn't as much. So I guess it just depends, and your caring tips will be different. So definitely talk to your healthcare provider and they'll be able to help you with that. Make sure you're eating. Pardon?
I was going to say, we did talk about the bleeding a little bit in another postpartum episode that we did already.
Yeah, we did.
It starts off really heavy and bright red with clots, and it gets lighter as the time goes on.
Yeah.
They say on average like up to 6 weeks, right?
Yeah, some can be up to 8. It depends. Your body's different. You may pass clots, you may not. Anything bigger than a loony size, you'll want to consult your healthcare provider because that can be not good. And if you're unsure, just ask anyways. It's not going to make a big deal if you're a little overcautious, especially when, they can have some serious things. I also wrote down eating nutritious food, like try. I know that it has a lot to do with, well, when you're breastfeeding a baby, just even your how much you produce breast milk. It can have a lot to do with how much water you're drinking, how much, are you actually getting into your body so that it can produce good milk. Sometimes you don't produce, and that can happen, and there's nothing wrong with you, but you can also consult with your healthcare provider or like a lactation consultant or a dietitian or anybody, and they can always give you tips as well. Just know that, breastfeeding can be frustrating. I know for me, it was really easy, and I'm so blessed. And I think Petra you had a really great breastfeeding experience with all your kids as well, didn't you?
All 4 of them, it was really good.
Yeah.
I always suggest to people, just make sure that you're breastfeeding on demand, because then you're going to have supply and demand. If your child wants to nurse them. Sometimes they're doing it, they're hungry or thirsty. Sometimes they just want to be comforted, and that's all. They
were in your womb.
Next to you, squished up, hearing your heartbeat, hearing your voice.
Yeah.
Just cuddled up, right? And then they're born into this cold, bright, loud world. And sometimes they just want to be comforted. And that's completely normal.
Absolutely. And it's totally fine. And babies do also, what do they call it? Cluster feed. So that could mean that they literally don't leave your boob. And that's super normal too. Your baby's probably just going through a growth spurt. Again, super normal. Like everyone's breastfeed journey is different. And I mean, at the end of the day, fed is best. And you just want to make sure your baby's getting good nutrition. So, yeah. What would you say about breastfeeding, Petra?
I would say don't stress about trying to cover up. So if you don't feel comfortable, then maybe just stay around home at the beginning until you have a good latch, and you and baby have figured it out. Otherwise, don't stress about it. It's a normal thing to breastfeed. And if people are uncomfortable with it, then that's too bad. Because honestly, it's almost more hassle having to over a baby when they're brand new and trying to figure out breastfeeding, right?
Yeah, it definitely can be confusing to them and can set you guys back. So that's another thing for sure.
Yeah.
Don't want to stress. Yeah.
Not worrying about what others are going to think.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, it's you and your baby and what's best for you guys.
When I see a breastfeeding mom in public, I always try to go over and tell her she's doing a wonderful job.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard. It feels so isolating.
It's really hard. And some people, they can't, and they wish they could. There's lots of different things, right? Maybe a mom was going through breast cancer and, they can't. It's hard. So, yeah, it can be very different for everybody. And at the end of the day, we just have to spread love, not hate about it. Everybody does it differently, and that's totally fine. If you're having trouble with getting a latch, I would say contact a lactation consultant because they are equipped to help you in that area. They are professionals in that area. They've had lots of teaching and training, and they know what they're doing. So definitely don't just give up. I've seen so many moms just give up and then they just feel so bad about it. So just, at the end of the day, if you've tried everything and it still doesn't work, it's okay. It doesn't make you less than a mom. You're going to feed your baby. It's okay. So just know that there's extra help, and I would definitely consult a lactation consultant. Usually they'll be, you can find them online. You can ask people. I'm sure there's people that have had one and they can recommend one. Your doula or healthcare provider, usually they'll even have them in the hospital as well, I've heard. So yeah, just know that it's normal and your breastfeeding journey will be what it is, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I just think we compare so much as moms, and yeah, just need to spread more love. That's all.
And definitely sleep whenever you can.
Oh my gosh.
It's so easy to get caught up in the moment. Like,
because you won't sleep ever again. Just kidding.
Yeah. It's the baby's sleeping. I'm going to go wash the dishes. I'm going to go have a shower. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do that, right? But then you never sleep.
Yes.
At the beginning, they don't sleep at night like we do. They sleep in the day. They have
For
it back.
real. Yeah.
Until 3 months after this fourth trimester, they don't even have a circadian rhythm where their body tells them when they should be sleeping, when they should be awake.
Absolutely not. And sometimes they still don't sleep at almost 2, and it's great. That's the season that I'm in right now. Oh, man. It's all a blessing. Enjoy it all because it really does go by so fast.
So those naps are still just as important as the showers, or just as important as the dishes, honestly.
Yeah, it's okay. Reach out. Ask your spouse. Ask a friend. People want to help you. They don't want you to be like so exhausted that you can't function. You can't feed yourself. There's lots of people that would love to be there to support you and help you. Bring you meals. So maybe you can sleep instead of, rush to make a meal before your husband or spouse gets home and you're so worried about, like it's okay. They'll be okay. They can figure it out on their own too. So, definitely utilize that.
And I would say
sleep.
Make sure you actually ask for the help. Just expect that it'll happen, because I noticed that with my second, like I had people come with my first because it's my first, and just do you. But then when my second, I hardly had anyone because I think they didn't know I wanted the help, and it was really difficult. So my third baby, I put it out there. I asked everyone. I said, hey, if anyone can help, it'd be great. Give me some food. Come help do some cleaning. Come watch the kids for a little bit. Whatever, right? And then I had lots of help because I actually asked for it.
Just know that people are not mind readers, and they probably don't know. So they won't know to help you, right? So that's a good point, Petra, for sure.
And maybe talk to your spouse ahead of time as well. Talk about maybe some ideas of how they can maybe help out.
Absolutely.
And then keep that communication open when the time comes, right?
Absolutely. It's so important to not be in silence and to run yourself down, and it's not going to be good for you or your baby or your breastfeeding or your health. It's just going to be stressful, and then that's when postpartum depression happens. And just know that you can ask for help, but actually ask, because people won't know.
Hiring house cleaners can be really helpful. Hiring
or a postpartum doula. Yeah, exactly. Somebody,
by the way.
What? Yeah,
said
exactly.
Which we do, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
But
it's important.
Doulas, it's a nice help because we can do so many different things. We can do light housekeeping where we'll wash a few dishes, we'll unload and load the dishwasher, we'll sweep the floor, we'll prep like really simple snacks. Maybe we watch the baby so you can go have a bath or just go have a nap. We can watch older children if this is not your first baby. We can be there just to talk with, because sometimes it's someone to talk to as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
many
absolutely. Yeah, pick up groceries, that sort of stuff. Absolutely. Yeah, there's lots of different things. You know, the newborn stage especially is hard. And you just never know how it's going to go. You don't know if your baby's going to have colic. Also, there are solutions. Chiropractic is amazing. I have a friend, his name's Brett. He's a chiropractor. He has adjusted every one of his babies that have come out right after birth, and they've had no issues. So yeah, there's other things that can help that too. But sometimes babies just cry, and just know that there is help out there and you're not alone. And you're not a bad mom for asking for help either. Yeah, there's so many resources. Absolutely.
Some babies will have all the witching. So it's like during certain hours in the evening, they're just inconsolable. And science is not really positive why this happens, but some babies just do this. My second had this happen. Juliana did that all the time for I think a couple months. And I always knew I'd put my oldest to bed and I knew like about an hour later she'd start to get fussy and I'd just buckle down and be like, okay. So I'd hold her, I'd take her to the washroom because white noise is usually what can help soothe the baby, right? And vibration. So you can go into a washroom with the shower running beside you. You can sit on a dryer while it's running. You can hold them beside a fan and have the fan on. You can take them for a car ride, put them in a stroller.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to keep doing it and know as long as you're comforting, a little crying is not the end of the world.
I never experienced that, so I can't even imagine how hard that would be. But I know lots of people who have dealt with it, and it is hard. And again, just ask for help if you need help. If you're like, I'm at my wit's end and I need someone to just like rock my baby. Again, we're here. There's lots of people here that would love to help you. Yeah. So reach out. Don't be in silence. Yeah, you want to talk about, we'll talk about some things about baby. Petra, what's normal for pees and poos right after birth?
Good question. So when the baby was in the womb, they have collected this poo in their intestines that needs to be cleared out when they're first born. This is called meconium. Some babies will actually poo in utero, which it's actually kind of worse for healthcare providers because if the baby aspirated it could be dangerous. But most babies don't, and they'll have their first poo after they've been born.
Yeah.
And this poo is going to be dark, like black almost, or
looks
really,
like tar.
Yeah. It's very, very sticky.
Very sticky, yeah.
In a hospital setting, they'll usually give you Vaseline to put on so that it doesn't stick to the bum. I personally always use coconut oil.
Yeah,
so I just
too.
put them in a little mason jar, and that's what I put on every single diaper change. And this is the first about 24 hours, every poo that they have. So they'll have like, or what it was, like 3 or 4 of these poos.
Yeah, that's about average, yeah.
Yeah. And then it starts to transition and not be as sticky and tarry.
To mustard.
If you're breastfeeding.
Okay, if you're breastfeeding.
Yeah. It will look like mustard.
Not, and then if it's not, what color is it again?
If you're formula feeding, it's more
brown.
more brownish like ours. but it's
brownish,
still very
whitish.
liquid.
Yeah.
So they say the first week of baby's life, they should have at least the amount of pees and poos for day of life that they are. So like day 1, they should have minimum 1 pee and 1 poo.
Yeah.
Day 2, they should have minimum 2 pees and 2 poos.
Yeah.
And then the pees that continue until like day 6 something. And then the poos will be 1 or 2 a day.
Yeah.
What they say.
Yeah. But they can more, and that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
That's normal. Another thing they're going to be looking at this stage is if the baby is yellow at all, or if there's like whites in their eyes. Basically, they're looking for jaundice. And that's when baby's blood contains an excess of bilirubin. It's a yellow pigment, and it's like of red blood cells. So usually when babies are born, usually they say within the 2nd to 4th day of their life. If they do have this, some get concerned, some don't. Like I had midwives, and they were checking and stuff. They checked to see if the kids were okay. But usually, if you're nursing, it will go away quite fast. If they're still not losing it, then they might say, hey, we're going to go in to the hospital and we're going to put them under a little UV light, and they're going to do that until they see an improvement. I can't remember how many times they do it. It just depends. They just want to make sure that the levels in the body are not high, because it can actually cause stuff like brain damage. And so they just want to be sure. And it's all about just maybe being overcautious, and that's okay, because you know that everything's okay. So
you can also, if baby's born somewhere where it's warm or during the warm months, you
take
can
them
take
outside.
them outside.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
most beneficial to do. And then if not, you can also give vitamin D drops.
Yeah, I've heard that too. Yeah.
Just put a couple drops on your nipple if you're breastfeeding, or on the nipple of the bottle if you're bottle feeding.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, obviously talk to your healthcare professional, but you
Always, yes.
take extra amount yourself. That's what my midwife told me to do. So I took a higher amount.
Yeah.
Because not as much goes through the breast milk, but it's still willing to take a higher amount.
Yeah, for sure. And it's normal for them to have some little bit of pigment. So they'll just check. They just want to make sure. And if at any time you guys are unsure, it's okay to ask. Yeah, it's important to just be safe, and that's all I got for you on that.
There's also the umbilical that you'll have to take care of in the beginning. So the umbilical cord has been clamped and cut, and now you're just waiting for it to fall off.
Yeah.
And you really don't have to do anything. They used to clean it and stuff, but they don't recommend that anymore. They say just keep the area dry. Don't give baby a submersive bath until it's fallen off. Just do like sponge bath, like just with a cloth, wipe them down. That's it.
Yeah. How long after do they say? Like up to like a week or what? I can't remember.
They say on average about 2 weeks. It can come off earlier and sometimes a little bit later, but that's usually around. And you just want to watch for signs of infection. Because you don't want any, like,
they can get hernias.
Fluid. Yeah, exactly. You don't want any oozing fluid. You don't want redness. You don't want it to be warm to the touch on the abdomen around it. Making sure your diapers are not touching it and covering it, so just fold it down a bit if you need.
Yeah.
Actually not complicated because you don't have to do much.
No, it's not. I remember both of the other kids were totally fine, and then Lorelai, she almost looked like she had a hernia, right? An umbilical hernia. And my midwife just watched it, and I just prayed, and eventually it just went away. But it looked like it was kind of bulging out a little bit. So remember? And I was like, Petra, what is this? I've never had this before. What's wrong with my baby? Because I didn't want to have to take her in. And so, yeah, if you're concerned about anything, always, always go to your midwife, your healthcare provider, and they'll be able to tell you what you should do. But most of the time, it just falls off and it's totally fine.
Something else to remember is if you had a baby girl, this can frighten some people, so it's good to know ahead of time.
Oh, bleeding.
Yeah, mom's hormones sometimes are still in the baby, and it can look like they're almost having a mini period, and they'll bleed a little. And it's okay. They don't have to do anything about it. It can be freaky if you don't expect it.
Yeah, no, it can. It totally can. I think I know someone who that actually happened to, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
One of my girls that happened.
One of your girls had it happen?
Yeah.
Wow. See, and I don't think it's a very common thing, so yeah.
But it's good to just know about so it doesn't freak you out if it does happen.
Yeah, like your baby is okay. Absolutely.
Something else about diaper changes is if you have a boy,
oh
it's
yeah,
a whole experience.
PPTPs.
Yeah, they can be all over. So yeah, exactly. You can buy little, they look like teepees, little tents put on top of the pee so that if they pee, it doesn't spray all over. My husband got peed on like the first diaper change he ever did.
Yeah, so funny.
But you can usually tell when they're about to.
Yeah, for sure.
It sounds a little bit weird, but it like they get a little bit of an erection when they're about to pee.
They do, yeah.
That's how you know, right?
You're like, oh
some
no,
people
cover
just,
it. Get the
yeah, some
PPTP
people
out.
if you don't have a PPTP though, you can just
put a
have the
cloth.
extra diaper ready. So you just quickly put the diaper over top or a wipe or
wipe or a cloth. Yeah. It's not really a big deal. You might get peed on. It's totally fine. I was actually looking through old baby stuff and I found these little teepees, the PPTPs, and they're blue and they're camo. They were a gift. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember. And I showed Ben that. He's like, what's that? I'm like, that's what I use so you wouldn't pee on me. It used to be that small. He's like, wow, thanks for that lesson, mother. I just wanted to know.
Save it for a wedding gift.
Save it for a wedding gift. These were for you. Oh my gosh. Oh, speaking of which, my next notes, I've titled it Bringing Sexy Back. This is the time when you have waited to be with your spouse after having the baby, and usually your healthcare provider will clear you around 6 weeks if you're healing well and there's like no infection. Yeah, and you get to go and do that if you feel like you want to. I don't know about you, Petra, but the first time I gave birth, I was terrified and it hurt because it was really uncomfortable. So I would just say, just go with how you feel. It's totally normal if you don't feel good about it. Totally fine.
We usually have a lot of like change down, like the pain, if you tore, just the fact that everything was stretching and trying to go back to normal now. It's just, there's so much that happened. So when you do decide you feel comfortable to resume or any type of sex for that matter, you just need to make sure to take it slowly, use lots of lubrication.
Absolutely. There's lots of things. Yeah. There's a lot more things that you can use that will make it more enjoyable. And like she said, communication, because that's huge. If you're not feeling up for it, you tell your spouse and they will 100% be okay with that. So I think it's just really important. And also, this is the point where your healthcare provider is going to ask you about birth control, because if you are breastfeeding, a lot of people think, oh, I can't get pregnant, but you absolutely can. And I know lots of people who have had babies after their baby was like a month old. So
Yeah.
definitely think about that too.
It's very, very true.
Yeah. So whether that's, getting an IUD or whatever you do, definitely don't leave it to chance.
Well, they say for 3 months, if you're exclusively breastfeeding on demand, day and night, baby's not going longer than like 6 hours max. Baby has not started solids and they're up to 3 months old, and you have not had the return period. If all of those factors are there, then you're usually safe. But if one of those isn't, you do have a chance to get pregnant again.
Yeah, you do. And that would be really tough. So I just say better safe. If you're not wanting to get pregnant right after you've given birth, just make that a priority to figure out how you want to go about doing that. There's lots of different things you can do. My husband, I didn't get my tubes tied. He didn't get vasectomy, nothing. And from the time my daughter was 2, we started thinking about it, but never actually decided to until she was about 5. And we just did family planning. And it's not to say that that doesn't work. I mean, obviously we weren't supposed to have a baby till then. So, but when we did try, we got pregnant right away. But if you're fertile and you want to be careful, there's lots of different things that you can do. You can track your cycle. There's things that you can do. So I would say if you're not wanting that,
They say
take extra precautions.
Yeah, exactly. They say it is hard on your body to get pregnant like super, super close back to back because you want your body to heal a little bit first.
They say at least a year because your body just went through a huge trauma. Like you just grew an organ and that organ just came out of you. Like you might not see the placenta and where it was like stuck to the side of your, you don't see the scarring that's there. You don't see that it needs to heal. You might feel great, but it doesn't matter. It needs to heal. So absolutely, there can be problems, I'm sure, with like miscarriages and stuff if things aren't fully healed, right? So they say with C-section moms, 2 years because they have to heal their C-section scar. Otherwise, there can be things that can happen where it can rupture, and there's lots of different things to look into. But just ask your healthcare provider. I would say at least a year for sure.
And I guess also just remembering we should be comparing ourselves to moms thinking, oh, well, they had their kids really close together and their kids get along so well. I want to do that too. Or well, they had a big age gap and it worked so well for them. Or this mom, she did this and that's the way that she lost her baby weight, right? Like every pregnancy is so different. Every person is so different. Plus, we don't always hear everything that happens with people.
No, we don't. And that's my next point.
People are more likely to share the good times, the fun things, the exciting things, the milestones, right?
Yep. Motherhood is not a competitive sport. It's not. And I think that we need less judgment and more love because we're all different. We all parent differently. We all had our babies differently. We all ate differently during our pregnancies. It doesn't mean one way is wrong or the other. I think, I heard that on a podcast and I was like, oh my gosh, that is so good because, no one's baby is the same, and no mom is the same person. You need to be who you are. That's who your baby wants, and we can't be comparing every little thing, like breastfeeding, all these things. And I was saying, you know um the thing is with everything to do with that is that, like, we we are so much a social media, like, world where everybody's on social media, and you see all these highlight reels, and you see these moms, and they look amazing, and they just gave birth 3 days ago, and they're back to their weight, and they didn't have a belly. And it's like, those are called highlight reels. Some people, their bodies are like that, and they do go back really quickly, but that's okay if your body doesn't, and that does not mean there's anything wrong with you. Again, give yourself grace in this part of your life. It's okay not to fit into your old jeans. You know what? That's okay. Hips get bigger, wider. That's okay. You birthed a baby. Like, pregnancy can do all kinds of things to your body. But guess what? That's okay. And you can just get rid of them and go buy a new pair that makes you feel beautiful. And that's totally fine too. You don't have to fit whatever you see on social media. And remember, it's usually not always true. So,
You don't have to be a certain way after you give birth. Your baby doesn't have to be ahead in milestones or do them at the same time that your friend's baby did it or whatever, right? We just
no.
need to accept that we're all different, and that's totally okay. Every mom will be different. Every baby will be different.
Absolutely. No, I agree. And we just, as moms, have to just show love to one another and be people, like, each other's cheerleaders, and just cheer each other on, because we're all in this motherhood journey, and it's not easy, and it's okay if it's not what you thought it was going to be. That's totally fine. Our next point is depression, postpartum depression. A lot of women do suffer with that. I didn't personally, but I know Petra did. And everyone, every baby's different. Every pregnancy is different. Every postpartum is different. And there's lots of resources to help you, and you're not a bad mother if you are suffering with that. And if you need medication, I always say try more natural first. That's personally what I do, and that's what Petra does, but that doesn't mean that's what you have to do. And reach out to your healthcare provider if you really are struggling. Another thing I put here is, if you have faith in God, to pray and ask him to help you too. I mean, that was a huge thing for me when I would have low moments. I don't think I ever considered myself having postpartum depression, but being a mom is hard, and it's okay to not always have it together. There's nothing wrong with that. So
you'll have good days and bad days.
Yeah, absolutely.
Into the first few weeks after you gave birth, your hormones are insane. Like, they're crazy. Like, you thought you were moody during pregnancy, you're going to be moody immediately postpartum. Like, it's a lot happening, and they call it the baby blues. So it doesn't, it's feeling like signs of depression at this point. It does not necessarily mean you have postpartum depression. It is considered baby blues. It's when it's an extended amount of time that you're having these feelings and these thoughts and stuff. That's when it can be diagnosed as postpartum disorder.
Yeah, baby blues, exactly. That's normal to have. You just carried this baby.
Yeah, you have so many changes. Your body has changed. Your routines have changed. You are taking this child that really relies on you now. There's a lot of It's an amazing thing, but it's a hard thing.
Yeah. And just know that it's okay to have those times, and it's okay to reach out for help. No one's going to fault you for it. They just want you to get help so that you can move on and find your happy again.
They
Yeah.
do say 1 in 4 women are the statistics
Yeah, that's
have
what they do say.
a post-mood disorder, so whether that's depression,
Yeah.
that's anxiety. Some people even
Yeah.
get hearing, and that is this is something that can happen and we need to be aware of. And if you
Yeah.
notice that like might be off, do not talk about it. You can talk to your doula, you can talk to your midwife or doctor, you can
Yeah.
talk to a friend. Like honestly, just let somebody know so that you can try to get some help, right?
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. And no, you're not alone. There's lots of resources to help. Yeah. And also postpartum. I mean, this is what I heard in one of our other episodes. I'm pretty sure my girlfriend Sarah, when we did the nutrition one, after you've had a baby, your body goes through hormonal things for a long time, and it takes a while, like years, for your body to go back to normal. And that's super normal too, to have hormonal imbalances. And again, just reach out for help. Go get blood tests. Find out where you are deficient in your vitamins, whatever. And usually that will help a lot. So, yeah, that's all I got.
I also suggest to mom to have some type of basket, egg that you can have with you wherever you are, whether it's in your bedroom, in your living room, etc. And in
Yeah.
this basket or bag, have all like the necessities so that you don't have to keep up and down.
Yeah.
So this will have a bunch of diapers. It will have wipes for the baby. This will have maybe swaddling blankets or receiving blankets for spitting up. This will have maybe a phone charger. You need a water bottle because you should be drinking lots and lots of water.
Way more
Maybe,
than you usually do.
yeah. Maybe a book. Maybe you want to play breastfeeding. I mean, at the beginning, all the time. Just have something, maybe some snacks, like just things that you can have on hand. I did that, and I found it really having everything close and right there. Right?
Yeah. Definitely. Especially if you tore.
Yeah, you don't want to be up too much until you.
No, because you need to heal for sure. So yeah, absolutely have little stations where you have everything, so you don't have to go up and down the stairs all the time.
I had one postpartum client who actually had a cart, like one of those wheeling carts, and she put all of her stuff in the cart, and then she could move it from room to room, which is a really cool idea.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. The other thing is when you're feeding a baby in the beginning, you have to make sure that you burp them.
Oh
Otherwise,
gosh, yeah.
might get really fussy and they'll be irritable, whiny, whatever. Or it could just cause them to spit up a lot.
Yeah, mine did that.
Either, or maybe both. So they can't burp on their own at the very beginning. So after every time you breastfeed or bottle feed, just make sure you burp baby. You can hold them over your shoulder. Just pat their back firmly, gently, until you burp out. And then, or you can hold them like on a knee, then pat their back.
Yeah.
Or your with until they're able to start burping on their own, which
some do it sooner than others. It depends.
guess you watch baby. You'll know.
Yeah, you'll know. Yeah, you'll know. Definitely.
In those first 3 months, I always suggest having some type of like receiving blanket or other towel or something for baby to spit up. Some babies, they don't spit up very much, and other babies spit up all the time.
Yeah.
Which is still considered normal. It's just
It is. You just learn your baby. Like my first one never did that. And then I had Sophie, and then I remember I would feed her and then she would projectile vomit. And I'm like, oh my gosh, are you even gaining weight? And then I was so freaked out. And then Keith one day, he's like, Jacqueline, try this. And I'm like, okay. So he's like, lay down and then put her on your chest and then let her nurse that way. I think your flow is just too strong for her. And it's like literally choking her. It's going down too fast and she's not able to swallow it. And so she's just burping it all up. So, reach out, ask for help. I'm sure there's stuff. You can even just look up like things on Google. He probably did. I don't know if he came up with that on his own. Just kidding.
Who knows, right?
He totally could have. I don't know. But I really, really appreciated it because then she began to keep it down and it was okay.
Yeah.
And not such a mess all the time where I was just covered in vomit. Nobody likes that, especially when you have big boobs. It is not fun. Bird bath all the time because you think I had time to shower all the time. No.
And you stink rotten milk, right?
Literally all the time I stunk like rotten milk. It was so gross.
The other
the
I guess
joys.
we mentioned too is if you're breastfeeding, the milk process. So in the beginning, you have colostrum.
Yeah.
So colostrum is a sticky, yellowy, clearish fluid, and it doesn't seem like very much comes out. But this is actually what helps clear out the baby's meconium and help. It gives them antibodies. It gives them a whole bunch of good stuff for their digestive system. It preps them for life.
Yeah.
For their baby. And then your milk will start to transition in, and then it'll slowly start to turn to more liquidy.
Yeah.
Until you actually have a full letdown, which feels a little bit different for everybody, but you'll know when your milk comes in. You'll know.
Yeah, you'll know. You'll know. It's good times.
And as long as baby's still having at least a pee and poo a day, and following the schedule, they're getting enough. You don't need to worry. Oh, I don't know, baby's not getting enough. But if they're peeing and pooing, that means they're getting enough. That's what I.
Yeah, absolutely. If they're not, then you want to consult your healthcare provider.
Yeah.
Because they might just have something inside that's not working the way that you want it to. And yeah, you just want to make sure that everything's good to go.
You'll probably want to buy some breast pads, whether disposable or reusable, because when you do have your milk come in, sometimes you leak. All you have to do is hear that baby cry, and your letdown comes, and you have milk coming out. Some husbands are so kind, they start making baby crying noises to laugh.
He did that?
I remember my mom telling me that my father did that.
And then your mom's like, excuse me.
That's when you take it out and you squirt them, right?
For real.
You want to know my superpower? I can squirt breast milk right across the room.
Better not do that one again.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I actually tried that once. Keith is so mad at me.
I've definitely done that. Not gonna lie.
I've definitely done that once or twice. Anyway. Oh man. That's all. That's all we got for you today.
So I guess the takeaway is don't compare your postpartum period to anyone else's.
No.
And compare it to a past postpartum period you had if this is not your first.
Yeah.
Try to
It's all
enjoy it
different.
best you can.
Yeah, it's all different. And enjoy the moments because they don't last very long. It might feel it does, but it's really not going to.
It's true. In the moment, the days are long, but months are
The
short.
years are short.
I was gonna say years, but really the fourth trimester is 3 months. So
It's so short. So
It
enjoy those little babies and the cries because then you're all done and you'll miss it. So, yeah. Well, thanks so much for being with us. We hope you learned something.
So until
And
next time.
till next time, what the mom?
What the mom?